Little Witch Nobeta allows the player to live out their fantasy of being a loli witch in an anime. Wait, what? You're saying you've never had that fantasy and that I'm weird for even mentioning something like that? Well, first off, my feelings are hurt. Second, fine. You might not have that fantasy, but stick around because there's a lot more to the game than just this. Little Witch Nobeta, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, is an anime Souls-like. Well, at least that's what most people describe it as. And truth be told, a lot of the actual gameplay elements you often see in games of the genre are here. You get your dodge roll, your heavy hitting enemies with plenty of opportunities to die, your interconnected map with some shortcuts here and there. But at the same time, there are some key differences that make it, unfortunately, just not as in-depth as the inspirations for the genre. Allow me to explain. You play as a witch, the titular Nobeta, throughout the game. When you think of a witch, what exactly do you envision? Pointy hats, flying brooms, staffs, and spells? Well, I'm pleased to say most of those are in. Sorry brooms, you didn't make the cut this time. Try again next game. Nobeta's iconic outfit has a pointy hat, but most relevant to us at the moment are the other two elements. The protagonist's only weapon is a staff, that she can use to both do melee hits and cast spells. There are 4 elements of attack spells in the game, all of which are unlocked as you play, plus 2 other support elements that add passive abilities. One that increases your air game with abilities like double jump, and one that gives and improves parry. The game revolves around mixing and matching both forms of attack, physical and magical, and systems are in place to really ensure one supports the other. Casting spells, for example, uses up MP, and one of the main ways to get MP back is by hitting your enemies with melee moves. At the same time, spells can be chanted to give them special effects. Gameplay-wise, this means pressing a button and waiting for a bar to slowly charge. Your character is also slowed while this happens and becomes more vulnerable to attacks. You can, however, still dodge, and in fact, dodging attacks at the right moment makes the chant charge up faster. One of the element's chant power is actually to massively enhance your melee attacks. See what I mean? Both sides of the combat end up complementing each other, even though magic ended up doing most of the damage in my playthrough. In fact, late game upgrades or a New Game Plus run end up more or less being vastly overpowered in terms of magic, even on the highest of the 2 difficulty settings. While this system, which you have been seeing on camera this whole time, is nice and works well, it's also very simple, and not necessarily in a good way. There is no way to defend, for example, which means the parry involves just attacking at the last possible moment that you're about to take damage. It's a risky move, and the parry window for the unupgraded version of the parry is not very generous. The healing/item system is also not the best. You drop healing/mana orbs from destroying stuff in your environment, but the main way to heal is via items. You start with 4 slots, and you can find bag expansions hidden throughout the world to increase that number. What you then choose to hold is up to you, but there are 6 types of items. I ended up almost always going with the healing items only. You can both buy these items and collect them from the environment, but if you have no money and you're stuck at a boss fight, you might find yourself letting the boss kill you just to get the health drops to respawn and fill your item bar with healing before attempting for good again. The system is serviceable, but it's far from ideal. Furthermore, the game has no actual build variety. Sure, you can level different stats, but your moveset and your equipments will remain the same throughout the game. Well, kinda. As you play, you can find items that are very well hidden that upgrade your magic spells. That's the only way to enhance them, and it isn't something that's playthrough dependent. The chests will be there for all players, and all spells will always be usable by everyone that finds them. So basically, the only variation possible between playthroughs is what stats you level up. If you want a different build aside from that, you have to force yourself to not use some of your spells. You can't even change your weapon. Your original staff is all you get. Although I guess you can change your costume, but that's just cosmetic. This simplification of the combat is why I say that the game is not as in-depth as the inspirations for the genre, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Far from it, it's solid and I had fun. I just won't play it past the first playthrough. But what exactly can you expect to fight with this combat? Well, turns out quite a few things. The game has okay enemy variety and very nice placement. There are also lots of reskins of enemies, but those change their attack pattern quite drastically. You can see all of this on camera right now. In this zone, you see multiple colors of the same blob-like enemy, which is half the enemies you'll face, the other half being dolls, all with vastly different attacks. Furthermore, from the zone I'm at, I can see and snipe enemies that are farther ahead if I pay attention to my surroundings and notice these opportunities, which is something I really appreciate in a game like this. No joke, a lot of my zones were at least partially cleared before I started traversing them. And speaking of enemy variety, the game doesn't have too many bosses in its 9 hours of playtime, but the bosses that are there are really cool. I had a blast with all of them. This, on screen right now, was my favorite fight. Not a spoiler because the trailer in the Steam page shows it. Gameplay aside, the story isn't spectacular, but it did keep me interested for the duration of the game. It employs the one tactic that always gets me, mystery. From the beginning, you're Nobeta and all you know is that you're looking for the throne room of a specific castle. You begin the game entering said castle and soon find yourself a guide, a black talking cat. Even if the story isn't anything extremely memorable, the way it's slowly revealed is done really well, which I always appreciate. In terms of graphics, the game employs an anime art style that lots of people will most likely either love or hate. Personally, I'm a massive fan even though I don't actually watch anime. Weird, huh? The level design is not the best. There's not much variation in the actual environments for a lot of the game, and plenty of rooms feel similar to one another. But again, it ended up being something I could overlook. There are also plenty of secrets to be found and collectibles that add a bit of lore to the game. You even get a voiceover option for them, which is really cool. As for the soundtrack, it was largely unremarkable, but not bad either. Some of the tracks that were there, especially the main menu and the credits, were good. But there were plenty of moments that lacked background music, relying instead on just ambient noise and the player's sound effects. Some other moments had background music that fit the ambience, but wasn't really noticeable at all. I had to rewatch the footage and pay attention specifically to that. If you care at all, the game is also voice acted by Hololive members.
あなたも一緒に遊ぶ？また石を持つクラフト彼女に構うな。もうここから出よう。
This does mean the game's only language for voices is Japanese though. All in all, I had a blast with Little Witch Nobeta. It's a fun and decently challenging little Souls-like. Just don't go in expecting vastly different experiences with each playthrough. And if you want more of this world, rejoice! There are animated comics unlockable with the collectibles you get, and they're pretty nice. Well, that's it. If you liked this video, if it was useful to you, please do leave a like, subscribe, but perhaps most importantly, comment. I love hearing from you guys. Like seriously, whenever the little bell lights up saying I have a notification, highlight of my day. So if you play the game, if you agree with my opinion, if you disagree, anything really, let me know. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you on the next one. Bye-bye!